I'm speaking with Charlie Sheehan, who is the Labor candidate for Cootamundra in the upcoming state election. Now, Charlie, you've asked to be interviewed so that people could understand what your policies are, and of course, should there be any other candidates around who'd like to be interviewed, I'm more than happy to give them the opportunity. Now, this is your first tilt at State Parliament?
That is correct.
And you come from?
Jugiong originally, but I'm based in Cootamundra.
Right. Now, one of the big issues in this election is the selling of the poles and wires. Now, where do you stand on that?
Right. Well, I stand completely behind the Labor Party on this. This is a massive issue for New South Wales, and I think the people really aren't fully aware of what the implications are. To sell off a utility asset, which is a monopoly, and it's a viable one, very viable. It returns the state in excess of $1.5 billion a year in revenue. Now, if that revenue is lost to a private or overseas consortium, which is more than likely the way it will go, eventually down the track, that hole in the revenue budget of $1.5 billion will have to be picked up by taxpayers, and we all hate taxes. Right.
Now, although the state government is talking about spending that on infrastructure, now what infrastructure are they actually talking about in relation to people living in the country?
Well, I can't see much at all as far as country infrastructure. The big bill that they are looking at is roads and rails in Sydney to fix up the transport system in Sydney. There's been some promises made and money thrown out around regional and rural New South Wales, but they first of all have to realise the sale, the capital that they expect to get from it. That it's built up of a structure where they expect to receive $13 billion for the sale, which they haven't actually got a buyer for or a firm commitment for. Then there is a further $2 billion from federal funds, which is our taxpayers' money as well. And then they expect to make another $5 billion in interest on that money in this market where we have very low interest rates. But to achieve that, you would have to tie up that capital to actually get the interest. And if you're going to tie up the capital, how the hell are you going to build the infrastructure?
The $2 billion they're talking about, is that for the asset recycling, so-called?
That's correct, yes.
Right. Now, I know, Charlie, that one of your pet topics to talk about is drought relief in New South Wales, and you're not terribly thrilled with the system that's in place at the moment.
No, the system that's in place at the moment is pretty much non-existent. It's been a real failure of the Nationals. They've done away with freight subsidies for fodder and stock movements in drought areas. They've shown a complete disregard to farmers who are suffering in drought, particularly in the north of the state where they've been in drought for 3 years now, and they are pretty much living on the doorsteps of the Salvos and some Benny's shops up there. And Katrina Hodgkinson, who is the Minister for Primary Industries, their policy has done away with drought declarations as such, which were a form of an agreement that was met between, or a decision that was made between DPI staff, board members of the old RLHBs, and also staff members of RLHBs and Bureau of Meteorology. She has got this 1 in 50 year rainfall assessment calculator, which I have direct information and knowledge that it's failing the farmers who are already suffering hardships through water limitations and fodder limitations. Now, the Labor government has reinstated the drought declaration system, which then entitles people to claim drought assistance. They've reinstated subsidised fodder and stock movements in drought declaration systems, and they have looked at providing funding for further support to farmers in drought situations.
Right, now there's been a survey that's come out from a survey of TAFE teachers just in the last few days saying that up to 4 out of 5 of them are totally frustrated with working at TAFE at the moment. What changes do you see need to be made to TAFE?
Well, the Labor policy is that they're going to refund and restructure TAFE back to where it was, get the fees back to where they should be. The path that this coalition government has taken is down the privatisation path of education. We've seen that failing in states like Victoria, where these so-called privatised qualified people have come out of there and found to be lacking the skills that their certificates are supposed to have. So we need a training and tertiary education system, particularly out here in regional and rural New South Wales, which it is the only source or the provider of tertiary and training education for our youth that's available to us, and it's vital that we get that back on track.
Okay, now people no doubt have other issues which I haven't brought up. How can they contact you to discuss their particular concerns?
They can contact me by phone on 0447 175588. They can also email me on, I've got 2 email addresses there. One's the party site and the other one's a private one on Gmail.
And you're happy to converse with anyone who has an issue they'd like to discuss?
Well, I most certainly am, yes.
Well, thank you for sharing the time with us this morning.